Hello there, people of the internet. I'm out here playing around with some cast bullets, and I'm also watching for wasps because they're everywhere. We got a Remington 870 with some birdshot out here with me, and I've been wasp hunting with a 12 gauge shotgun, so you guys might see some wasp hunting in this video. I know that there's at least one more flying around here, and I hope that he's not sore about me, taking out his entire family. So, whenever it comes to cast bullets, I am trying to find the best possible performance with cast bullets from a small caliber, high velocity rifle round. If we want to talk about, say, pistol rounds or like large bore rifle rounds, casting and cast bullets they're exceptionally good at those just because of the velocities that those larger rifle bullets tend to travel at, or the velocities that your handgun bullets tend to travel at. But whenever it comes to your small caliber rifle rounds that are typically moving at a high velocity, normally 2,500 feet per second or faster, you run into some difficulties with cast bullets. Those rifles don't really like cast bullets all that much. You're definitely wanting to use jacketed bullets if you want like real performance out of your particular rifle, but cast bullets can be adequate through those guns. Whenever it comes to getting the most out of your cast bullet performance, you need to balance velocity and accuracy. And I know I've said this a couple of times in the videos where I've been making these cast bullets, but I want to go more in depth on that because it's a really, really big deal with these cast bullets. So with a cast bullet, you normally don't want to, assuming you're using hard cast bullets with a gas check and the bullets are properly lubed, you normally don't want to move faster than, say, 2,200 feet per second, because past that point, with some exceptionally hard cast bullets, you can touch out to farther velocities, higher velocities than that. But past that point, generally speaking, you start to run into accuracy issues from either leading or the actual lead inside the projectile tearing itself apart as it tries to travel through rifling. It just does not lend itself to very good accuracy once you hit about that 2,200 feet per second mark. Some rifles with some style of rifling, with some bullets types, and there's so many things that go into it. Some issues start to pop up at slower velocities than that. But I have found that 2,000 feet per second is like the Goldilocks area for maintaining accuracy, while at the same time having a decent amount of velocity with your projectile to do decent effect on target. Now, all of that being said, I want my rounds on target to be as effective as possible, but my limitation is definitely velocity. And this is a similar sort of circumstance that people back in, say, the 1800s had whenever they were dealing with black powder. They were limited to their velocity capabilities. In their particular case, it was due to propellant. In my particular case, it's due to projectile style. But they were limited to velocity, so what they did was they made bullets heavier, and that's more or less what I'm doing with my cast bullets as well. I have cast loads that I use for plinking that are super lightweight. Like, I try to go as lightweight as possible if I'm just going to go out and hit some paper or clink some steel or something like that, simply because while casting, if I use less lead, then I get more rounds to fire per pound of lead. Like, for example, if I'm casting 220 grain bullets versus 110 grain bullets, I can make two 110 grain bullets for the same amount of lead that I can for that 220 grain bullet. But the thing is that 110 grain bullets still can't move faster than 2,000 feet per second. I mean, it can, but I don't want it to move faster than that because then I deal with accuracy issues just because of how lead works. So with those issues, if I'm in a situation where I want more effect on target, more power on target, since I can't use more velocity, next best thing would be to increase that weight. Was that a wasp? Oh, there's something flying around here. So with that increase of the weight from that 110 grain bullet to that 220 grain bullet, I now effectively double the energy that I'm going to be transferring onto that target, since I cannot increase the velocity. And that is how you increase the power of your cast projectiles, through these small bore high velocity cartridges, since you can't get the velocities that you normally would get. Like, I got 303 British, that's a 150 grain bullet at 2,750 feet per second. You're not reaching that with a cast lead round. That's not happening. So instead, you throw a 210, 220 grain bullet inside that and launch it at 2,100 feet per second, to where you still get decent velocity and decent power onto your target, but you don't have to worry about that leading or the loss of accuracy problems that you would normally have to worry about. Same thing with 7.62x54R, or same thing with the 7.5 Swiss that I'm out here playing with. There's a lot of different options on what it is that you're going to want to shoot, but if you want power from your lead rounds, you just cast lead rounds, and you can't shoot them faster, then bullet weight is the way to go. So all of that being said, I have two different bullet weights for 30-40 Krag out here. I got a 210 grain bullet and a 180 grain bullet. And just because of the limitations of velocity, both of them are traveling at 2,000 feet per second. So that 180 grain bullet is not going to hit as hard as that 210 grain bullet, because of course the 210 grain bullet is heavier. Normally, whenever we think about these small caliber, high velocity rounds, the energy on target is going to be relatively the same. I say that like very generally speaking. It's going to be relatively the same as you increase bullet weight with your cartridge, because oftentimes you decrease velocity with that cartridge as you increase bullet weight. In this particular case, we have a heavier bullet and a lighter bullet both moving at the same speed, so there is going to be a difference in power, versus something like, say, 30-06. A 150 grain bullet moving at 3,000 feet per second has approximately the same sort of energy, not quite, but the same sort of energy that you would get from, say, oh, I don't know, a 200 grain bullet moving at the 2,600 feet per second, approximately. I'm not quite sure how fast that moves, but I do know that the energy is going to roughly equate to being approximately the same based off of bullet weight and velocity. That's not what we're going to see with these cast lead rounds, because we have the same velocity, just different bullet weights. So we are, in fact, making a more powerful bullet just by making it heavier, since they're going at the same speed. So I have a steel target out there. I want to smack that steel with a 180 grain and a 210 grain for my 30-40 Krag, both moving at the same speed, and I want to see what kind of difference it is that we have with that. I wish I had more of a medium here to kind of test these different bullet weights and their power and whatnot, but I don't. I guess I could go out and find some water jugs, but that would require driving to the store. I don't have any ballistic gel. That unfortunately got thrown away. The family found it in the fridge and they were like, "Oh my God, Sean, what is this? It's disgusting." I'm like, "You're not supposed to eat that." So anyway, let me set up and send some pills at the steel target that I got down there. All right, the steel target is kind of hidden by grass, but I think I'll still be able to hit it. So let's start off with the lighter weight. This is the 180 grain bullet at 2,000 feet per second. All right, firing. I'm not even sure if I hit the steel. I saw everything move around down there, but that steel sure didn't do much. Let's go ahead and smack it again with that same grain weight bullet, except I'm gonna, maybe it hit a little high. Let's do that again. There we go. That time I know for a fact I hit that steel. But it didn't do very much. Like, normally the steel, whenever I smack it with rifle rounds, it goes flying. It did not do that this time. So now, let's hit it with a 210 grain bullet, moving at that same velocity. I think I hit high again. Maybe this rifle needs to be zeroed for this particular ammo. I don't think that I've tested to see where this ammo actually hits. Well, I guess I'm just gonna have to go out there and see if I'm actually hitting the steel. Maybe it's stuck on something. Alright, that's how I know I hit it. So it's definitely stuck on something down there. But I can absolutely just feel from the recoil that the heavier bullets, of course, have more power. And the effect that they're having on the target down there, I'm going to admit, it looks pretty much identical. But that's just because the steel's still standing. Alright. Yeah, I mean, we're over there smacking it repeatedly. The steel just doesn't care. Care, damn it! There we go, cared about that. Yeah, now it has, now I have its attention. Alright, cool. Well, there we go. Hopefully you guys learned a little lesson on making your cast rounds as powerful as possible. I have had a lot of people tell me to use super light charges for these cast rounds to try and get as much accuracy as possible. But realistically, I'm interested in power. If you're sending a 150 grain cast lead round from, I don't know, your Lee Enfield, and you're sending it at 1,500 feet per second, that's not powerful enough for me. I want to see that bad boy moving at least 2,000 feet per second for some really good energy on target. To put that into perspective, that extra 500 feet per second, if we're moving from 1,500 feet per second to 2,000 feet per second, since the amount of energy that the bullet has is quadrupled, whenever you add velocity, we are doubling, yes, doubling the energy on the bullet with that extra 500 feet per second increase in velocity. And that's what I want. I want a good hard cast bullet that I can push out at 2,000 feet per second, and I want it to be nice and heavy so it smacks onto whatever it is I'm shooting at really hard. So thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Hopefully you learned something. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'm still looking for that wasp. I'll see you on the next video. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.